Applications of Gauss law. If you consider a small charged particle, a point charge, now we wish to find out electric flux due to this charge at some distance. You take the distance as r. Now, by taking this point, construct a Gaussian surface such that the closed surface encloses this charge. So it is possible here, if you construct a spherical Gaussian surface, then the sphere will enclose the entire charge here. Now, according to that formula, we can write the flux through this entire total closed surface, that is Gaussian surface or spherical Gaussian surface, is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the q. So directly you can write phi total is equal to q by epsilon naught. Now suppose if this charge is equal to 1 coulomb, so what is the flux through this closed Gaussian surface? The flux through the closed Gaussian surface is going by 1 by, because charge enclosed is 1 coulomb here, 8.85 into 10 power minus 12. So we can write the total flux through this closed Gaussian surface due to this 1 coulomb charge is given by, this is 1 by 8.85 into 10 power 12 or 10 by 8.85 into 10 power 11. So this will become, so this is nearly 10 by nearly 9. So this will 1.1, so more than that 1.2 into 10 power 11. So I am not writing the exact value, so nearest value. What is the meaning of this one? Due to 1 coulomb charge, 1.12 into 10 power 11 field lines will pass through the closed Gaussian surface. Now, instead of 1 coulomb, let us say if I take 10 coulombs here, let me take this as a 10 coulombs here. So what is the flux due to this 10 coulombs? This is the flux due to 1 coulomb charge, due to 1 coulomb charge. Now, due to 10 coulomb charge, this will be 10 by 8.85 into 10 power minus 12. So this will be 1.12. So 1.1 into 10 power 12 lines will pass through this one. Now, if you take this r, because r is not given, that means according to this formula, flux will never depends upon the radius of the spherical Gaussian surface that we are considering here. Suppose if you take a small Gaussian surface here, due to this 10 coulomb charge, this many number of lines will comes out or passes through this closed Gaussian surface. All these lines will pass through this one also, because these lines are going to end on a negative charge. If there is no negative charge in the neighborhood, so what we have to assume, these lines are going to terminate at infinite distance. So irrespective of the radius of this spherical Gaussian surface, the total number of lines is always constant. So if you take another small spherical surface here, and if you take a bigger one, through all these spherical Gaussian surfaces, the number of lines remains the same. Now, you see this second example. In the second example, here we have Q1, Q2, Q3, 3 positive charges, and the fourth one is negative charge. So, but all these 4 charges, point charges, are enclosed by a Gaussian surface. We can write the total flux through this closed Gaussian surface is given by 1 by epsilon naught times the net charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. Here, charge enclosed is the net charge. So, what we can write? The sum of these 4. We know that charge is additive. So, we can write Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 minus Q4, because these 3 are positive charges, this is a negative charge, by epsilon naught. So this is how we can find out the flux due to different types of charges, that means positive and negative charges. For example, let me take this as 2 coulombs, this is 7 coulombs, this is 10 coulombs, let us say this is minus 5 coulombs. Now, what is the total flux through this closed Gaussian surface due to these 4 charges enclosed with Gaussian surface? So, in this example, the total flux passing through this Gaussian surface is given by 1 by epsilon naught times of 2 plus 7 plus 10 minus 5. So, this is equal to 9, 19. So, this will be 14 by epsilon naught. We know the value of epsilon naught and by using this we can find out the total number of field lines that are passing through this closed Gaussian surface. Now you see this one here, I have taken a dipole and this is enclosed by a closed Gaussian surface. As I said earlier, the Gaussian surface may take any shape or size. So what is the flux through this one? The total flux passing through this closed Gaussian surface is given by the net charge enclosed here by epsilon naught. What is the net charge here? One is positive charge, one is negative charge, because dipole consists of equal and opposite charges. So net charge is always 0 for a dipole. So there are no lines that are passing through this closed Gaussian surface. Even though it is enclosing two different charges, the net charge being 0, there are no lines. Why? Because we know that due to positive charge, lines will emanate outside, radially outwards. Due to negative charge, the lines will come or enter into this closed Gaussian surface. The total number of lines leaving the surface must be equal to total number of lines entering a surface, because the magnitude of the charges in a dipole are always equal, but their signs are different. That's why the total number of lines entering exactly equal to total number of lines leaving here. That's why let us say this is flux entering, this is flux leaving. So what is the net flux? Without using Gauss law also, what we can write? Total number of field lines entering into the closed Gaussian surface plus total number of field lines leaving the closed Gaussian surface. So total net flux or total flux is given by, this is let us say minus x, this will be plus x, and total flux will become 0 due to a dipole. Now here in the fourth diagram, if you observe this diagram, there are two charges Q1 and Q2 which are enclosed by a closed Gaussian surface, and one more charge Q3 is just kept outside the closed Gaussian surface. Now how to find out the flux passing through the closed Gaussian surface? Here I can write the total flux is given by 1 by epsilon naught times the charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface only. Here this Gaussian surface is enclosing only the charges Q1 and Q2. So here what we can write, the total flux is given by 1 by epsilon naught Q1 plus Q2. Even though we have a charge Q3 in the neighborhood of this charge or just outside the closed Gaussian surface, we should not consider Q3 to find out the flux in this case. But what about the field at somewhere here? Now if you take this is R1, let us say this is R2 and this is R3. But to calculate the electric field here, we can write electric field due to these three charges is equal to K Q1 by R1 square. This is electric field due to first charge. K Q2 by R2 square, and electric field third charge K Q3 by R3 square. At this same point, here we are calculating electric field. As electric field is a vector, we need to add these three vectorially. So E net is given by E1 bar plus E2 bar plus E3 bar. So from this what we can say, the electric field at this point depends on the charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface as well as charge outside the Gaussian surface. But if you want to find out the flux, we have to calculate only the net charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. For example, if I want to find out the electric field at this point, if I want to find out the electric field, this is R1, this is R2, this is R3. So by using the same concept, you can find out the electric field. But how to find out the flux here? To find out the flux here, so this, as it is positive charge, lines are coming like this, and due to this lines will come out, and due to this also lines will come there. But what is happening here, if you observe it clearly, the lines which are traveling are starting from Q3 are entering the closed Gaussian surface here, and after entering this, it is leaving this surface. Let us say this charge is producing some lines in this direction, and here if 5 lines are entering here and 5 lines has to leave, that means entering flux is a negative, leaving flux is positive. So net flux at this point due to this charge is always 0. That already we discussed here. The flux leaving is always positive, the flux entering is always negative. In these applications, some more applications of Gauss law. So let me take a charge Q here, and it is surrounded by a hemisphere here. So that means this charge is enclosed only on one side. So what is the flux through this hemisphere? So here flux through hemisphere. But the condition is to find out the flux, the total charge must be enclosed by the Gaussian surface. Here it is not completely enclosed here, this charge. So let me use one more hemisphere so that the total charge is enclosed here. Now by keeping this another part of the hemisphere, another hemisphere here, now the charge is said to be enclosed. So what is the flux through the full sphere? That is, the total flux through the sphere is given by the charge enclosed by epsilon naught. But I want flux through the hemisphere. Means here, let us say if I want to draw the lines here, these are the lines, these are the electric field lines. Now you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me take this as 6. So for each and every line there is an opposite line. For 1 and 6, 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 4, like this. So if you take this one, the total number of lines that are passing through this hemisphere are exactly equal to the total number of lines passing through the bottom hemisphere. Here I am just showing only the arcs. But if you take the complete sphere, this flux that is passing through the hemisphere exactly equal and opposite to the flux that is passing through the bottom hemisphere. So what we can say, the flux through this hemisphere is given by half of the flux through the entire sphere. That is half of the flux through the entire sphere. So flux through the hemisphere is given by Q by 2 epsilon naught. Now suppose if the charge is placed such that, so this is a hemisphere and it is also closed here, and a charge is placed just outside the hemisphere. So what is the flux through this one? As I said earlier, the lines which are traveling here will be coming out, and the lines which are traveling like this, so these are all entering this one and they are leaving here. So we need to take each and every line into consideration. So the flux entering must be equal to the flux leaving here. That's why the total flux through this hemisphere is 0, as the cause is the charge is not enclosed by the hemisphere. Hemisphere is just nearer to this charge but not enclosing this charge. That's why it is 0. Now one more example. This is a hemisphere and a charge is placed somewhere here. Even though the charge is not symmetrical here, that means it is not exactly at the center of mass of this hemisphere, what we can say, directly we can write total flux to this hemisphere is given by Q by epsilon naught. So by using this concept, we can write the total flux passing through a hemisphere, and it is very important that if the charge is enclosed by the hemisphere or any closed surface, then only we can find out the flux. If the charge is not enclosed by the hemisphere, then the flux through that hemisphere will become 0, because the total amount of the flux entering into a surface is equal to the total flux leaving the surface. Now let me give one more example here. Let me take a charge Q here, which is placed at a distance somewhere a by 2 from the surface of a square plate. So this is a square plate whose side is A and A. So this charge is placed just above A by 2 from the center of this one. That means this is a plate, and the side of this plate is square plate is A, and just above A by 2 I kept a charge. Now we can say that this charge is not enclosed. It is enclosed only on the bottom, not enclosed on either side or rear end or front side, front face, or even the top. So what I am going to do, I am going to construct a cube here such that the total charge will be enclosed by this one. Now in this you can see, now the charge will be enclosed completely. Now what is the total flux through the cube here? That is a charge enclosed by epsilon naught. This is the total flux through the cube. But I want to find out the flux that is passing through only this bottom face of the cube. So the flux through one face of the cube is given by how many surfaces are there in a cube? So we have total 6 surfaces. So this charge, the total flux will be divided into 6 parts, and which is given by 1 by 6 times the charge enclosed by this cube by epsilon naught. So this can be written as the total flux through this face is given by q by 6 epsilon naught. Next model, if I want to take a charge which is placed on the face of a cube. So this is a cube. So this is a cube. Now I placed a charge on the face of this cube. Now you can say this cube is not enclosing the entire charge here. This is enclosing only one side. Now if you keep one more cube here on this side like this, one more cube here, now what happens? Now this charge q is in between the two cubes and it is enclosed on both sides. Now what is the total flux through these two cubes? Total flux through two cubes, which is given by total charge enclosed by this combination by epsilon naught. So what is the flux through one cube now? You just remove this black color cube here, then this will be, that means half of the flux will pass through this one. So we can write directly q by 2 epsilon naught. This is the flux through that blue color cube or the black color cube here. Next, one more one. So let me take one more cube here. So this is a cube. This is a cube, and I am going to keep one charge at the one of the vertex or one of the corner of the cube. Now in this the charge once again is not enclosed. So here let me keep some more cubes so that the entire charge will be closed now. So for this I need to keep total 8 cubes, because when I kept 4 cubes, half of the charge will be enclosed only on the bottom. So to enclose it, to close this one, I am going to use 8 cubes here. Now the total charge is enclosed now completely. So now the charge is at the center of 8 cubes. So what is the flux through 8 cubes? The flux through 8 cubes is given by the charge at the middle of these cubes are enclosed by all these 8 cubes by epsilon naught. This is equation 1. This is the flux through the 8 cubes. Then what is the flux through 1 cube? Only 1 cube. So this is given by, you can see there are 8 cubes. So this entire flux will be divided into 8 parts. So this answer will be q by 8 epsilon naught. This is the flux through 1 cube. Now if I want to find out flux through any one face here, let us say I want to find out flux through this face. So this cube, blue color cube, is exposed to 3 different areas. That means this side as well as the front portion and the bottom portion are exposed to air. So now the flux through one face is given by 1 by 3 times of q by 8 epsilon naught. This is the flux through 1 cube, and this flux will be divided into 3 more parts. So the answer will be q by 24 epsilon naught. This is 3. Here we are going to apply Gauss law to find out the electric field due to an infinite charged thin conducting wire. So I am going to take one charged wire of infinite length, and it is charged positively on its surface. I wish to find out electric field due to this conducting wire. So this is a metal wire, that means the charge will reside only on the outer surface. If it is a thick wire, charge will spread on the outer surface. But here this wire, as it is thin, very thin, so let us say the charge is distributed on a small thin wire linearly. So what I am going to write, the charge density, linear charge density is given by the total charge on this rod wire by total length of this one. Now if I want to find out electric field at some distance r from this one, so let me take this point somewhere here. If I wish to find out the electric field due to this infinite conducting wire at a distance r, so first point is construct a Gaussian surface such that some part of this charged wire is enclosed by the Gaussian surface. As we discussed earlier, the Gaussian surface should not pass through a single or discrete amount of charge, but the Gaussian surface can pass through the charge distribution. Here charge is distributed linearly. So now I am going to construct one Gaussian surface here, so like this, and the condition is the Gaussian surface should pass through the point where we need to find out, where we wish to find out electric field. Similarly on the other side also you take this one and enclose this. So here I consider a cylindrical Gaussian surface of radius r and the length L. So here the height or the length of this one, let me take this as L. So let me use that Gauss law to find electric field at this point. So if you take this cylindrical portion, this cylindrical portion has three different surfaces. The first one is the curved surface. Let us say this is the white color one is the cylindrical Gaussian surface, and the refill is the charged wire here. So the first one is curved cylindrical surface, the second one, the bottom one is the circular surface, and the top one is also a circular surface. So here this is surface 1, the surface 2, and the bottom one is surface 3. Now if you want to find out electric field, so first let me take a small elemental area where I want to find the electric field. So the area vector for a closed surface is always outward normal, so this will be dA. At this point, due to this charge distribution, electric field is radially outwards. So at this point the field will act in this direction, E bar. Now let me find out the flux through this small Gaussian surface first. So the small Gaussian surface, flux through the small elemental surface is given by d phi is equal to E bar dot dA bar. Now d phi, actually here this flux we need to consider three different gas surfaces. This is second surface, let me take it as dA2, this is dA1, and the third surface, let me take a small elemental area, so this is always outward normal, so this is dA3. Here the field is perpendicular to the Gaussian surface. As I discussed in the earlier cases, the field must be perpendicular to the closed Gaussian surface or tangential to the closed Gaussian surface. Here for surface 1, electric field is perpendicular to the closed Gaussian surface. Here electric field is tangential to the closed Gaussian surface. Here also electric field will be like this only, because due to this charge distribution, lines will be going outwards radially. So but this area vector is perpendicular to this one. So what is the angle between these two? Here theta will be 90 degrees. Here also theta will be 90 degrees. But here angle between E bar and dA bar, theta is 0 degrees. So to find out the total flux, integrate this one on both sides. This you can write, the total flux through the entire closed cylindrical Gaussian surface is given by the flux through the first closed surface. This is a curved surface, let me write directly, curved surface. This is the top surface and this will be the bottom surface. Now the total flux is given by, how to write this one? This is integral E bar dot dA bar. This will be integral E bar dot dA2 plus integral E bar dot dA3. So these are the three terms here. Now the total flux through this surface is given by what is electric field and the area vector, how they are acting here. Both are parallel to each other. So I can write this as E integral dA1 cos 0. Actually E bar dA is can be written as E bar dot dA is equal to EA cos theta, but I am integrating this one, plus this will be E integral dA to cos 90 integral E into, or you can write E outside here, dA3 cos 90. So this will become 0, this will become 0 as field and area vector are perpendicular to each other. So the total flux in this case is given by, this is E into this integral dA cos 0 is 1, integral of dA. But what is the surface area of this curved closed Gaussian surface here? This is given by E into, this will be 2 pi r into L. So let me write this as 2 pi r L. This is equation 1. But from the definition of electric flux is the product of this electric field and this one. But from Gauss law, what we can write? The total flux is given by, from Gauss law, this will be charge enclosed by epsilon naught. But how to find out the charge? Here I am not going to consider the entire charge on this wire. I am going to consider only the charge enclosed by this closed cylindrical Gaussian surface. So here I can write, let us say charge from here to here, which is enclosed is Q, and the length of this one is L. So from this we can write Q is equal to lambda L. So this is lambda L by epsilon naught. This is equation 2. So now you can see from first equation we got E 2 pi r L, and second equation we got lambda L by epsilon naught. From equating these two, what we can write? E into 2 pi r L is equal to lambda L by epsilon naught. L get cancelled. So electric field due to a thin conducting wire is given by lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught r. Here in the applications of Gauss law, I am going to derive electric field due to infinitely long charged thick conducting rod. In the previous case, we derived electric field due to a thin conducting wire, but this is a rod. This is a non-conducting rod. So what is the difference between conducting and non-conducting rod? Conducting rod, if you charge a conducting rod, conductor means let us say one metallic rod made of copper or zinc, aluminum, something. If the rod is charged, then charge will spread uniformly only on its outer surface. Excess charge will always reside only on the outer surface. Whereas for a non-conducting rod, if charge is given, then charge will spread throughout its volume. So here throughout its surface, there throughout its volume. So let me draw the diagram here. So this is a infinitely long conducting rod. So I am taking a small portion of it. So here charge will spread only on its outer surface, uniformly. Whereas in a non-conducting rod, if you take the non-conducting rod, if it is charged, now the charge will spread throughout its volume. Distribution will take place throughout the volume like this. So this is the main difference between the conducting rod and a non-conducting rod. So this is an insulator. Let us say one wooden rod or one glass rod or one rubber. So now here in this case, if I want to find out electric field due to this, so first I need to find electric field somewhere here. The condition is, if the distance of this point from the center of the rod is, let us say you take this as capital R, and the radius of this rod you take this as a small r, we need to construct a Gaussian surface such that this point will lie on that Gaussian surface. So here the best Gaussian surface that can be constructed here is a cylinder. So let me draw a cylindrical Gaussian surface such that this point will lie on that cylindrical Gaussian surface. Now, I wish to find out electric field at this point. So let me take a small elemental area here, whose area vector, which is always for a closed surface, outward normal. Let me take this as dA1. But this cylindrical Gaussian surface has three surfaces: one curved surface, one circular surface on the top, and one more circular surface at the bottom. Now, here let me use this concept. The total flux through this Gaussian surface, closed Gaussian surface, is equal to the charge enclosed by it by epsilon naught, which is equal to closed integral of E bar dot dA. Here, the charge is spread uniformly on the surface. So, charge is spread uniformly on the surface of the rod, So here sigma is equal to the total charge on this rod by total surface area. But the total charge we don't know on the total surface area, because this is infinitely long, so I cannot find the total area. But if you take these two limits of this rod, we can write the charge on this one is Q and the area of this one. Here, let the length of this cylindrical Gaussian surface be L. Now, this is circumference of this rod is 2 pi r. Length of this rod, which is enclosed by the cylindrical Gaussian surface, is L. So we can write 2 pi r into L. So this is the charge and this is the surface area enclosed by the cylindrical Gaussian surface. Now here, let me write this one. The enclosed charge is given by sigma 2 pi r L by epsilon naught, which is equal to, here the total flux is related to three different surface areas. This is dA2 and this is downwards dA3. And we know that the electric field is either perpendicular to the closed Gaussian surface or tangential to the closed Gaussian surface. Here the field will be, due to this positive charge, field will be outwards. So this is E. But here the field will be outwards. So what is the angle between field and area vector here? 90. So here this is 90, as well as here electric field is like this. This is also 90. So this is a integral of E bar dot dA bar 1 plus integral of E bar dot dA bar 2 plus integral of E bar dot dA bar 3. So this is the total flux. This is flux through the curved surface, flux through the top circular surface, flux through the bottom circular surface. So here what I am going to write, sigma 2 pi RL by epsilon naught is equal. We know that for the second surface, so this is the second surface, top one, third surface, and this is the first surface. For the second surface and third surface, field and area vector are perpendicular to each other. Here also field and area vector are perpendicular to each other. That's why this E bar dA bar, E dot dA bar 3, these two will be EA cos theta. This is also EA cos 3 theta. Theta is 90, so this will become 0, this will become 0. So only the curved surface will contribute to the flux in this case. So what that I am going to write here, integral of E bar dot dA1 only. So now sigma 2 pi RL by epsilon naught is equal, electric field on the closed cylindrical Gaussian surface is always constant. Why? Because we need to construct a Gaussian surface such that at any point on the curved surface, the electric field must be constant. So I took this constant outside. Integral of dA1 cos 0. Cos 0 is 1. So no need to write. Otherwise you can write this 1 here. So this will become sigma 2 pi RL by epsilon naught is equal E into. So what is the surface area of this closed cylindrical Gaussian surface, the radius of this rod is smaller, whereas the radius of this cylindrical Gaussian surface is capital R, length L. So the total area of this closed Gaussian surface is given by 2 pi capital R into L. Now what we can cancel here? The length will be cancelled here, 2 pi get cancelled. So finally the expression for E will be sigma small r by capital R. So here I am writing sigma small r by r epsilon naught is the electric field due to this thick conducting rod. Now this is electric field outside the thick conducting rod. So I will write this as outside the conducting rod. Now if I want to find out electric field exactly on the surface of this one, surface of the thick conducting rod, now that I can write here on the surface, you can follow the same method, and finally small r and capital R equal. So this will become sigma by epsilon naught for thick conducting rod. Now if we want to find out electric field somewhere here within the rod, inside the rod, as it is a thick conducting rod, metallic rod, we know that electric field is 0. Why? Because even if you want to construct a closed Gaussian surface here, to find out the electric field at that point, construct a closed Gaussian surface like this, and this closed Gaussian surface is not enclosing any amount of charge. Why? Because charge will spread only on the outer surface of the rod. I am taking a Gaussian surface inside the rod. That's why electric field inside the rod is always 0 for a conducting rod. Now let me explain about electric field due to infinite charge non-conducting rod. So this is non-metal, this is metal. So in this case, let the radius of this rod, let us say this is same thing R, and I wish to find out electric field somewhere here at a distance R from the center of the non-conducting wire. So construct a Gaussian surface such that the point passes through that closed Gaussian surface. So similar formula. So now flux, total flux is given by charge enclosed by epsilon naught, which is equal to closed integral of E bar dot dA bar. Now, so here in this case, what is the charge enclosed? Here charge is spread uniformly on the surface of the rod, only on the surface. As it is non-conducting, charge will spread uniformly throughout the volume. Charge is distributed uniformly throughout its volume. So the volume charge density rho is given by the total charge by total volume, which is not required. The charge which is enclosed by this closed Gaussian surface, let us say this is Q, and what is the volume of this rod? Here let us say the length of this rod once again L. Now this volume of this rod is given by, so pi r square, the area of this one is pi r square into L. So this will be pi r square L. Now let me substitute this charge enclosed here. This is the enclosed charge, this is the enclosed charge here. Now charge enclosed is rho pi r square L by epsilon naught. This is from Gauss law. Here also the same procedure we need to follow. Here we have three different surfaces, one closed dA1, one circular dA2, and one more circular plate at bottom dA3. And same procedure here, electric field and area vector are perpendicular. Here electric field and area vector are perpendicular, but here electric field and area vector are parallel to each other. So I am not going to consider phi 2 and phi 3, that is flux through the second surface as well as flux through the third surface will be 0. So here I am going to write phi 2 is equal to phi 3 is equal to 0, since E and dA bar are perpendicular. Here also I can write the same thing. Phi 2 is equal to phi 3 is equal to 0 since E bar and dA bar are perpendicular for those two surfaces. So here I will write only the flux through the curved surface, which is given by the closed integral of E dA cos 0. So this is dA1. So rho pi r square L by epsilon naught is equal to E will come out integral of closed integral of dA1, and this will be 1. No need to write. Now, what is the surface area of this closed Gaussian surface? That closed Gaussian surface whose radius is r, whose length is L. So rho pi r square L by epsilon naught is equal to E. dA1 is the surface area of this one, which is given by 2 pi r into L, because the white here, if you see this one, the white color surface, curved surface is given by circumference 2 pi r into height h actually, but here height is given as L. Now you can cancel L and L, you can cancel pi and pi here. So the electric field is given by rho r square by 2 epsilon naught r. So this is the electric field due to a non-conducting rod at a distance r. That means this is also outside only. This is also outside the rod. Now, if I wish to find out electric field on the surface of the rod, on the surface of the rod, then the formula will be rho. The volume of this one is never changes, which is equal to pi r square L by epsilon naught. This is the flux. Whether the Gaussian surface is a smaller one or bigger one, same flux pass through this one. But the electric field on that will be constant E. And what is the surface area of that closed Gaussian surface? Just on the surface of the non-conducting rod. That is also given by 2 pi r into L. Now you can cancel r, pi. So electric field on the surface, this is electric field outside, this is electric field on the surface of the non-conducting rod is given by rho r by 2 epsilon naught. So this is the expression which is electric field on the surface. Now, if I want to find the electric field within the rod, that means inside the rod. Now, for this, electric field within the rod. In that case, there is no charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface that we are constructing inside the rod, as it is a conducting rod. The excess charge will reside only on the outer surface. Here, if I want to find out electric field somewhere here, now I need to construct a Gaussian surface like this. So within this rod, the charge is not equal to Q. This is the charge from this point to this point for this radius. But here the radius is different. Let me take it as r dash. Now the formula you can write Q enclosed by epsilon naught is equal to closed integral of E bar dA. So what is the enclosed charge now? In the same case, let us say the charge is not Q now, this is Q dash. And what is the volume of this thin cylindrical closed Gaussian surface? So this is r dash. So I can write pi r dash square L. So you can write Q enclosed is equal to rho into pi r dash square L. So this is rho into pi r dash square into L by epsilon naught is equal. This will be electric field E will come outside. So integral of dA means area of this closed Gaussian surface within the rod, which is given by area only. Area is 2 pi r dash into L. Now you can cancel here pi and pi, you can cancel r and r. So this is rho r dash square by epsilon naught is equal to E to r dash. One more r dash will cancel. So the electric field inside the rod is given by rho r dash by 2 epsilon naught. You can see three different formulas here. This is inside the non-conducting rod. This is outside the non-conducting rod. This is on the surface of the conducting pose. If we wish to draw a similar graph, this is the variation of electric field with the distance r. Here, for a conducting rod, let me take this is the point on the surface of this conducting rod. We know that electric field inside this rod is 0. So this is 0 till on its surface. That means if you move from the center up to the surface of the rod, electric field is 0. So here you will get a line which is parallel to the x-axis, which coincides with x-axis. Why? Because electric field is 0 here. Afterwards, it suddenly rises, and now on the surface, what is the electric field? On the surface, this is sigma by epsilon naught. So here I will write sigma by epsilon naught on the surface. Afterwards, electric field outside surface directly proportional to small r by capital R. But what is small r? It's a constant. What is capital R? It is a variable. So afterwards, it will become E inversely proportional to capital R. So this is the graph for the variation of electric field with the distance for a thick conducting rod. Here, by using Gauss law, we are going to derive electric field due to a non-conducting sheet. So this is a non-conducting sheet. That means this is a non-conducting sheet where the charge is spread throughout its volume. So charge is spread inside this sheet. But as it is a thin sheet, so if you take the cross section of this one, let us say this is the cross section, same thing. Here charge is inside this one and thickness is negligible. So here the charge is almost spread on its surface. That means within the surface. Thickness is negligible. So if you take this sheet like this, let the length of this one is L, height of this one is L, and thickness is negligible. Thickness is very less when compared to the side here. So that means T is much lesser than L. Now, if we wish to find out the volume of this one, the volume of this sheet is given by area into thickness, that is L square into T. But here T is very small. So this will become L square into T. When it is very small, it can be taken as 0. So the volume is not 0. This is nearly equal to 0. That's why I am taking this as thin non-conducting sheet. So remember this point. So based on this one, generally when the charge is spread throughout the volume, for any non-conducting plate or sheet or any non-conducting material, the charge will distributed uniformly throughout its volume. Here volume is negligible. That means when compared to the area, volume is very less. So here I will consider the charge here. Let us say this is uniformly charged throughout its volume only. But I am telling once again the volume is nearly 0 throughout its volume. But I will consider only the charge on its surface only, because thickness is negligible. So charge is just like a thin layer. The charge is distributed just like a thin layer here, just like a papad. Here, if you take the conducting plate, this is a thick conducting plate. Here, as it is a conducting plate, the charge will spread only on the outer surface. So only on the outer surface, not within the volume. So this is uniformly distributed like this. Okay. Now the same amount of charge can be seen on the other side of the plate also, because this is a conducting, charge will spread on the surface, and actually speaking we have to draw the charge here also, because this is also one of the surface. So the entire charge will spread only on the outer surface. This is the variation in the diagram for these two. So here actually the charge was spread throughout its volume. As the thickness of this plate is very small, so the volume of the sheet is nearly equal to 0. So the charge will spread throughout its volume just like a small thin layer. So that's why I am not going to consider the volume charge density. I am going to take surface charge density in this case. Why? Because this is a thin non-conducting sheet. Now, I wish to find out electric field at some distance r from here. Let us say this is r. I wish to find out here. So I constructed a closed Gaussian surface in the form of a cylinder. I can consider a parallelepiped. You can consider a cube, whatever it may be. So for simplicity, I am taking a cylindrical Gaussian surface here. So let the charge on this one is Q on these plates. Let the area of this one is A. But I don't want. Let us say actually it is infinitely large thin non-conducting sheet. So this is a big sheet, but I am considering only a small portion of it. That's why I am not drawing the boundaries. These are just the part that I am going to take from the big sheet. So here, let the area of this surface is A. So this cylindrical Gaussian surface has three areas. What is a circular area this side, one more circular area this side, because this is the area vector, and one more for this curved surface from there to here. So this is the third area, A3, this is A2, this is A1. Here I can write A1 is equal to A2. Let me take this as A, and A3 is different. Now, if you take the radius of this one is R, here let me take this as a length of this rod on one side, L, and let us say this is R. Now, to find out electric field here, I am going to use the same concept. The total flux passing through this closed Gaussian surface is equal to the charge enclosed by epsilon naught, which is equal to closed integral of E bar dot dA bar. Here we have three surfaces. That means flux is a scalar, which is the sum of phi1 plus phi2 plus phi3. Here what we can write? Phi is E bar dot dA bar. This is E bar dot dA bar. Integral of E bar, total area. Total area, that is total flux, is equal to integral of E bar dot dA 1 bar plus integral of E bar dot dA bar 2 plus integral of E bar dot dA bar dA 3. Here the electric field at this point due to this charge distribution will be outwards. This is E, and the area vector for this will be outwards, A1. So both are parallel to each other. The theta or the angle between E bar and area vector is 0. So this is a positive value or non-zero value. But what about this one, dA bar 2? Here also due to this charge distribution, electric field will be in this direction, area vector or area is in this direction, and this is also a non-zero value. But what about the electric flux that is passing through this curved Gaussian surface here? Here electric field is tangential and the area vector is upwards. So that's why this will become 0. So what is the total flux through this closed Gaussian surface here? Only the circular surfaces will contribute the flux. The curved surface will not contribute any amount of flux in this. So here I am going to write the charge enclosed by epsilon naught is equal to, this is phi1 plus phi2. So let me write this as a closed integral of E bar dot dA1 plus closed integral of E bar dot dA2. What is the charge enclosed by this surface? Here, this closed surface, this closed Gaussian surface or cylindrical surface is enclosing only some charge only. So this area is A. So we can write sigma is equal to Q by A, and the charge enclosed is equal to sigma A. Sigma A. Now you can write charge enclosed is equal to sigma A by epsilon naught is equal. This is E integral dA1 plus E closed integral dA2. Sigma A by epsilon naught is equal. This can be written as E. What is the closed integral of dA1? Now if you take this small area here, let us say this is dA1. total area is given as already as a. So this I will write EA cos 0 plus EA cos 0. So sigma A by epsilon naught is equal to EA. So AA get cancelled. So from this what we can write, the electric field due to a thin non-conducting sheet is given by sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So this is the expression for electric field due to a non-conducting sheet. If we observe this formula, sigma is surface charge density on this thin non-conducting sheet and 2 constant, epsilon constant. So it depends on only sigma but not on the distance L. Here I did not consider this L here. So it does not depend on L. Why? Because even if you take a point here, the effect will be same electric field, and if you take a point here, the effect of other charges will come into picture. That's why here E is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught. Does not depend on distance. So here E does not depend on distance from sheet. Now let me consider the second case here, the electric field due to a thick conducting plate. Here if you observe this one, if you join two thin non-conducting sheets together with a small gap, then you will get this thick plate. But the only difference is you will have charge on this side also. So this is a combination of two non-conducting sheets with the charges within this one, that means almost on the surface because thickness is very small, like this. But here the charge will spread on this side also. So it is a combination of what we can say, a thick conducting plate can be considered as combination of two non-conducting sheets. So now let me use the same concept. Here also I am going to use Gauss law. By using Gauss law, I am going to derive electric field due to this thick conducting plate. Here the total flux is given by charge enclosed by epsilon naught, which is equal to integral of E bar dot dA bar. Charge enclosed by epsilon naught. This is closed integral of E bar dot dA bar. Here also how many surfaces we have for the given closed cylindrical Gaussian surface. This is 1 and this surface on the other side is 2 and the curved surface is 3. And similar to this one, here electric field, if you take a small elemental area dA1, electric field will be parallel to this one because of this electric field will be outwards. Similarly, due to this small elemental area dA2, electric field will be outwards only for that other side of this plate. But what about this third surface? For this area vector is normally outwards dA3, but electric field is perpendicular to this plate where theta is equal to 90 degrees. So we are not going to consider the flux through the curved surface. We are going to consider only flux through the two circular surfaces, circular areas. So now what is the charge enclosed? Here if you observe this one, for this plate charge is spread on both sides. So what is the charge enclosed by this closed Gaussian surface? So we can write sigma is equal to charge enclosed by area. Here this side we have area A, and the other side of this place, rear side of this plate, here we have one more surface area where the charge is spread on the other side. So we should write this as 2A. So what is the charge enclosed? This is 2 sigma A. So let me take this as equation 1. So there charge is spread towards the volume as the thickness is negligible. I consider only the surface charge density on only the middle portion of the plate, not on this side or that side of the plate, only through the volume as thickness is negligible. So I consider this as just like a small paper. So on the paper thickness is very small, charge is spread throughout its volume. So I will consider it as a surface charge distribution. Here charge is spread on this side as well as that side. Electric field due to this one as well as this one, bottom one, is not going to penetrate to this one. So it is not enclosing the charges here. These are not enclosed by this cylindrical Gaussian surface. So that's why I am not considering the charge on this width, charge on this width, charge at the bottom as well as charge at the rear end. I am not considering those charges. Why? Because that charge is not enclosed by this cylindrical Gaussian surface. So I am going to consider only the charge that is enclosed by the cylindrical Gaussian surface on both sides of the plate. Now here, in place of Q enclosed, I can write 2 sigma A. So here, this is 2 sigma A by epsilon naught is equal E. What is integral of dA? So this is EA for the first surface, this one. Similarly, this side, this is EA, because we have two surfaces which contribute the flux. So we need to take 2 electric field into area. Now, if you take this one, 2 sigma A by epsilon naught is equal to EA. 2 get cancelled, AA get cancels. Electric field is going by sigma by epsilon naught for a thick conducting plate. Here, in the applications of Gauss law, electric field due to thick non-conducting plate. Just now we derived electric field due to a thin non-conducting sheet, but this is not a sheet, this is a plate. This is the side view of this one. That means actually this plate is like this. This is the side view of this one, whose thickness is 2D. Now I wish to find out electric field within this plate, let us say here. So you have to construct a closed Gaussian surface. Here I am taking a cylinder. The radius of this cylinder let me take as capital R. The length of the cylinder let me take it as L. So here I am going to draw the same cylindrical surface, elaborated diagram. So this is the cylindrical Gaussian surface that I am choosing here. Let the radius of this one is R. Let the half of the length of the cylinder is L. That means total length of the cylinder is 2L. The same thing. Now, here the length of the cylinder on one side, that means half of the length of the cylinder is lesser than this D, because this is D and this is L. So L is less than D. Now, I need to find out electric field at this point. So same formula, the total flux passing through this closed cylindrical portion is equal to the charge enclosed by epsilon naught, which is given by closed integral of E bar dot dA bar. Now a similar concept here. Here this surface will have some flux. Similarly, this surface will have an equal amount of flux. But here, as the area of this small elementary portion is perpendicular to the electric field here, theta 90. So electric field due to this will not be considered because it will be 0. So only this surface as well as the other surface will contribute the flux here. So what is the charge enclosed by this cylindrical Gaussian surface within this? So charge is going by here, as it is a non-conducting plate, charge is spread throughout its volume. So what I am going to write, rho is equal to charge by volume or small q by small v. So q is equal to rho v. So rho is equal to volume charge density. So what is the volume of this cylindrical Gaussian surface here? This is pi r square into 2L. So this is pi r square into 2L. This is the charge enclosed by the cylindrical Gaussian surface here, rho into pi r square into 2L. Now, so let me substitute that value here, rho pi r square into rho into pi r square into 2L by epsilon naught is equal. Now this is the flux which is a product of dot product of electric field and area vector. Here two surfaces are contributing flux. So I am going to write E into integral dA1 plus E integral of dA2 rho pi r square 2L by epsilon naught is equal, this is E into integral dA. So what is the area of this one? Area, the radius is r, pi r square. So I am going to write EA, and A value is pi r square plus E into pi r square. Rho pi r square 2L by epsilon naught is given by 2E pi r square, because E pi r square plus E pi r square, 2E pi r square, 2 and 2 get cancels each other. Pi r square and pi r square get cancelled. So electric field E is given by rho L by epsilon naught. So from this what we can say, electric field is directly proportional to L. That means if L increases, electric field also increases. So what is electric field at the center of this thick non-conducting plate, at the center, E at the center, as E directly proportional to L, here from this point, from this axis to this point, the distance is 0, so E at center will be 0. And as you increase this distance, if you move away from this one, and electric field on the surface, it is given by E on the surface is given by, this will be rho L will become D, L will become D, so rho D by epsilon naught. So if you draw the graph for this one, here if you take the distance here and electric field here, at center this is 0 up to that upper surface where thickness is D, up to D from the center, this is a directly proportional, so whose value is equal to rho D by epsilon naught, where D is the half of the thickness of the plate. So afterwards what happens? Away from this one, now you construct a Gaussian surface like this. So let me find out that value for the same expression. If you want to wish to find electric field due to this one at somewhere here, so you can write Q enclosed. So total charge enclosed within this surface, whose radius, let me take this cylindrical portion is not there. So now I am taking a new surface whose radius is R, whose length is more than L. Now the L will be capital level, right, whose length is capital L. So now here I can write the total charge enclosed will be rho the pi r square into 2L, because total length of the cylinder we have to consider by epsilon naught is equal to, this is E pi r square, 2E pi r square. You can cancel 2 pi r square, 2 pi r square, so E will become rho L by epsilon naught. Here also E, this electric field directly proportional to length of this one, directly proportional only. So as length increases, the electric field also increases, so it will continue like this. Here in the applications of Gauss law, I am going to derive electric field due to a conducting charged sphere. So electric field due to charged sphere. So whenever I am telling charged sphere, and here spheres may be conducting or non-conducting. If you see this diagram, charge is spread only on its outer surface. So this sphere is a conducting sphere. So charged conducting sphere. Be careful, why? Because in competitive exams, instead of this conducting sphere formula, if you substitute to non-conducting sphere formula, you will lose marks. That's why. So this is a conducting sphere where the charge is spread only on its outer surface. Radius of this one is R. Now, our formula is Q enclosed by epsilon naught, the total flux, Q enclosed by epsilon naught equal to closed integral of E bar dot dA bar. Here I want to find out electric field at 3 different points. One point within the sphere at a distance smaller, one point on the sphere, that means at a distance capital R from the center, and one more here, this is smaller less than R, this is smaller greater than R. The distance is greater than the radius of this charged sphere. So first let me find out electric field within the sphere. So E inside the sphere, E on the surface, and E outside the sphere. So I am going to find an electric field at three different points. First, inside the sphere. If we wish to find out electric field at any point, so just construct a Gaussian surface such that the point lies on the surface of the closed Gaussian surface. Here, to find electric field at this point, let me construct a closed Gaussian surface which is also in the form of a sphere only. So what is the charge enclosed by this one? As it is a conducting sphere, the excess charge that is given to a conducting sphere only spread on its outer surface. That means charge within this closed Gaussian surface 1. So let me take this as a closed Gaussian surface 1. This is surface 1. Here what we can write, the charge enclosed by the closed Gaussian surface is 0 by epsilon naught, which is equal to E closed integral dA. So 0 by something is 0, which is equal to E into integral dA is area of that closed Gaussian surface, which is in the form of a sphere, 4 pi, the radius is r square. So the product of this is 0, means E must be 0. Why? Because 4 is constant, pi is constant, r is also non-zero value. So the electric field inside the closed charging conducting sphere is always 0 within the sphere. Now, what is the electric field on the surface of the sphere? So to find out electric field on the surface of the sphere, just to assume that a closed Gaussian surface is taken on the surface. So the same expression, what is the enclosed charge? The enclosed charge on this one. So here I am taking a closed Gaussian surface. The enclosed charge is the total charge on this one, which I can write the total charge on this sphere. Let us say this is Q. So this is Q by epsilon naught is equal E closed integral of dA. Here there is only one surface. In the previous cases, when I am taking a cylinder or a parallelepiped, we have different surfaces, but here we have only one surface. So I can write Q by epsilon naught is equal to E into A. So what is the area of closed Gaussian surface, which is equal to the surface area of the sphere, that conducting sphere. So this is Q by epsilon naught is equal E into 4 pi capital R square. So electric field on the surface is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square. If you observe this expression is similar to electric field due to a point charge at distance r. That means whenever you are finding electric field due to this conducting sphere or non-conducting sphere, in general, what we can say, the total charge, even though spread on the outer surface, while finding electric field at a distance from the center of this one, if it is on the surface or outside surface, we have to assume that the total charge is concentrated at the center of the mass of this sphere. So you can find the same expression here. Now, what is electric field at this point 3? So this is point, let us say 2. This is point 1. So this is at point 1. This is at point 2. This is at point 3, which is outside the sphere or conducting sphere. Now, what is the Gaussian surface here? Here also you will get a closed Gaussian surface in the form of sphere only. So what is the total charge enclosed by this sphere? That is nothing but the total charge on the conducting sphere. This is Q by epsilon naught is equal E integral dA. What is this dA? dA is the small unit portion. Integral dA is total area of this closed Gaussian surface considered by us. So Q by epsilon is equal to E into, this will be 4 pi r square, where r is the radius of the closed Gaussian surface. So E is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. In this case also, we need to assume that even though charge is spread here, let us say charge is concentrated at the center, but the distance is r, then electric field is just like a formula from the point charge. Now, let me draw the graph, that is variation of electric field with the distance for this one. So in this case, this is a y-axis and this is x-axis. This is the distance. This is electric field E. What is electric field at the center of the sphere? At the center of the sphere or within the sphere, inside the sphere, electric field is 0. So it is 0 till small r is equal to capital R. That means till the surface, electric field was 0. So this is 0. So this is 0. So electric field is equal to 0 if r less than capital R. If the radius of that one, distance of that point from the center is less than the radius of the charged sphere, electric field is 0. Now, on the surface, electric field increases sharply and whose value is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon q by r square. That I can write k q by r square. So electric field is equal to k q by r square when small r is equal to capital R. And after that, if you see this one, outside the sphere, electric field is inversely proportional to square of the distance. So when the two physical quantities are inversely proportional to each other with the square, you will get a parabola. So this is a parabola where electric field inversely proportional to r square. Here electric field is maximum. This is E max. This is E max. Afterwards electric field will decrease. So here electric field is 0 till we reach the point on the surface of the sphere. So here electric field will be k q by r square when r greater than capital R. This is very important for exam point of view. So this is the corresponding graph. Electric field due to a non-conducting charged sphere. So this is a non-conducting, already mentioned, charged sphere. When a non-conducting sphere like a wooden sphere is charged, charge will spread throughout its volume. So let the radius of this charged sphere is r and the total charge on this sphere, let us say this is capital Q. So as the charge is spread throughout its volume, what we can write, rho is equal total charge within this volume by total volume, which is going by 5 by 3 pi r cube. Now I wish to find out electric field similar to the previous case within the charged sphere, that is inside the charged sphere. One more is on the surface of charged sphere and one more point away from this one, point 3. I wish to find out electric field at 3 different points. So first point is, first consideration, we need to construct a closed Gaussian surface such that the point that where we want to find electric field lies on the surface of that closed Gaussian surface. So let me take the first point. Let me take one closed Gaussian surface here. So in the form of a sphere, here the radius of this closed Gaussian surface be r. Now Q enclosed by epsilon naught, which is equal to the total flux, is equal to closed integral of E bar dot dA bar. What is the charge enclosed within this sphere? The total charge within the sphere is capital Q. What is the charge within this sphere? Within this sphere, within this sphere. This is not capital Q, this is small q. So let me write small charge by small volume. So based on this one we can write the total charge enclosed here is going by cross multiplication of rho 4 by 3 pi r cube by epsilon naught is equal. This will be, there is only one closed Gaussian surface here. So we can write E integral dA. What is dA here? dA is the small elemental portion that we are going to take here and this will be dA1. And if you want to find out entire surface area, integrate that one, you will get rho 4 by 3 pi r cube by epsilon naught is equal E into total surface area of that closed Gaussian surface with radius r is going by surface area of sphere 4 pi small r square. You can cancel 4 and pi here. So the remaining terms, this r square and r get cancelled. So electric field is going by rho r by 3 epsilon naught. So this is the electric field with inside the closed non-conducting charged sphere. In case of a conducting sphere, electric field inside was 0, but here this is rho r by 3 epsilon naught. So this is inside. Now, if we want to find an electric field on the surface of the sphere here, so you need to construct a closed Gaussian surface where the closed Gaussian surface and the surface of the actual sphere coincide with each other. So in this case, this rho, what is the total charge? Here I can write 4 by 3 pi r cube by epsilon naught, which is given by E into total surface area of the closed Gaussian surface is also equal to 4 pi capital R square. 4 pi get cancelled, this get cancelled. Electric field is equal to rho r by 3 epsilon naught. And you can see the relation between this and this. Here rho by 3 epsilon naught constant, rho by 3 epsilon constant. Electric field inside the sphere directly proportional to small r. On the surface it will become, in place of small r we are going to get capital R. Now, if you take a point somewhere here at point 3, so this is this one where small r greater than capital R. That means the distance of that point from the center of the non-conducting sphere is small r, which is greater than the radius of this one. So in the third case, this is on the surface, electric field on the surface. Now electric field outside the surface. So let me construct a closed Gaussian surface. Here also you will get a big sphere, and the total charge enclosed is the total charge on this one, which is given by this one rho 4 by 3 pi r cube. So rho into 4 by 3 pi r cube by epsilon naught is equal to E into. So what is the surface area of the closed Gaussian surface taken outside the sphere, which is 4 pi r square. So here 4 pi get cancelled, and the electric field here is given by rho capital R cube by 3 epsilon naught small r square. You can see here dimensionally this are same. Here rho by 3 epsilon naught, rho by 3 epsilon naught, rho by 3 epsilon naught constant. Here we have distance, here also we have distance, and here also r cube by r square, dimensional, that is distance only. So these are the three electric fields at three different points within the sphere, on the surface of sphere, and outside the sphere. Now if we wish to draw the graph for this variation of electric field with distance, so here I can write, this is the electric field, this is the distance r, this is electric field. At the center of the non-conducting sphere, when r is equal to 0, the electric field inside the non-conducting charge sphere is also 0. That means the electric field at the center of the sphere will be 0, whether it is conducting or non-conducting. But in non-conducting sphere, the electric field gradually increases with distance, because rho by 3 epsilon naught is constant. So electric field is directly proportional to r. So here let me draw the graph like this. So till this point, when small r is equal to capital R, so electric field is rho capital R by 3 epsilon naught. This is the maximum value of this one. So after that, here if you see electric field directly proportional to r cube by small r square, you can find r is the radius of the charged sphere, which is constant. So I can write this is a constant. So 1 by r square means this is a parabola. So this is E inversely proportional to r square when r greater than capital R. This is r less than capital R. This is on the surface. So what is the maximum value here? The maximum value, that is E max, is given by, for a non-conducting charge sphere, rho r by 3 epsilon naught. Here a charge q is placed here, and these are the electric field lines. Till now we discussed about how to find electric field as well as flux by using Gauss law through a closed Gaussian surface. Suppose if I wish to find out electric field due to a circular portion, I am not going to find out all the lines which are emanating from this charge. I am going to consider only some portion of it. That means how many lines are passing through this small area. And here if you see this charge, let us say this is the charge, lines will travel radially outwards in all possible directions. So if you take a circular area here, so you will have one solid angle. That means this surface area will produce a solid angle here, not a plane angle. Solid angle omega. We know that in a plane angle, if it is a plane angle, if you take the radius or radii vectors, this is the arc and this is the radius, we take it as r, and this is a plane angle. So how to find out this plane angle? The plane angle is given by plane angle theta is given by arc length by radius. So theta is equal to, let us say arc length is equal to L. So this is L by R. So we measure this angle in radians. SI unit of the plane angle is radians. But what about this steradian? Now, if you take a area here, this is a area, circular area, some area. So if you draw lines from the circumference of this one, all these lines are going to meet at a point on circumference of this one. So this angle is called steradian, solid angle. So this solid angle is given by solid angle omega is given by the total area of this area given surface, that is a area by, let the distance of this one is r, so this will be r square, that is distance from the center to the vertex of this cone, this is r. So solid angle is given by a by r square, and this is measured in steradians. Now in case if you take a hemisphere, the hemisphere will produce a solid angle. So what is the solid angle produced by a hemisphere? In case of hemisphere, this is the hemisphere and this is the area of this one. So now the radius of this one is r. So what is the solid angle of hemisphere? Solid angle of hemisphere is given by total area by square of the radius. We know that area of a complete sphere is 4 pi r square. What is area of hemisphere? This is a 2 pi r square by r square. This cancels. So this is 2 pi steradians. Similarly, for a complete sphere, this is a complete sphere. The radius of this one is r. So what is the solid angle produced at the center of a complete sphere, which is given by area of the complete sphere by r square. This is 4 pi r square by r square cancel. So the complete sphere, for complete sphere, this will be 4 pi steradians. Here sometimes we need to find out some portion of the surface area of a sphere, some portion of a sphere. Now this is a sphere of radius r. Here surface area of a sphere, I am going to give a direct formula. So by substituting the angles, we can find out the surface area of a complete sphere, surface of a hemisphere, surface area of a quarter sphere, surface area of a small angle sphere. That means if you take only this much surface, so if it will make some solid angle here omega, so what is the area of this one? So to find out this surface area, small portion of a surface of a sphere, I am going to derive an expression here. So here this is the radius r. Now let me take one small strip here. Small strip. This is on one side of this sphere, the other side it will be like this. I am not showing that one, I am going to denote with the dotted line. Now here this small strip will make some angle here. So let me take this angle as d theta, this radius r. and here from the center let us say this angle be theta. To find out the area of that strip, area of small strip, that is elemental portion on the surface of the sphere, this I will write it as dA, which is given by, let the radius of this, let me take it as a small r, so circumference will be 2 pi r, and let the thickness of this one is dr, so this is dr. So the small surface area of that small elemental strip is given by 2 pi. What is small r here? If we observe this right angle triangle, if it is theta, small r, sin theta is equal to small r by capital R. Sin theta is equal to small r by capital R. In place of small r, you can write r sin theta. So this will become r sin theta into dr. But what is that dr value? Just now we discussed this one. This is a arc length, this radius r, this angle d theta. So dr is equal to radius into that plane angle. So in place of dr, I can write r d theta. So dA is given by 2 pi r into r square sin theta d theta, that is equation 1. If I wish to find out surface area of this sphere for different angles, let me take this angle is actually here it is as given as theta. This angle may be 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, and if theta is equal to 90, so it will cover, if theta is equal to 90, it will cover half of this one. Why? Because I am not going to consider only one side, I am going to consider both sides. So if theta is 90 means hemisphere. So total area of solid sphere, that is surface area, total surface area of solid sphere is given by, here I am not going to find out the total area but surface area for some angle. So that's why I am integrating this one, integral dA with limits 0 to, let us say that angle is alpha. So minimum angle of theta is 0. Let us say maximum angle may be in 10 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees or 120 degrees, whatever it will be. Now, so these are the limits dA. So integral 0 to alpha, this can be written as 2 pi r square sin theta d theta. So this area is 2 pi r square common. We know integral sin theta is cos theta. So let me write this as a minus cos theta. Actually, this is minus cos theta with limits 0 to alpha. Now substitute these values. 2 pi r square minus cos 0 minus cos alpha minus of minus cos 0. The area is given by 2 pi r square minus of minus plus cos 0. Cos 0 is 1. So this will be 1 minus cos alpha. So this is the area of any solid sphere taken here. Now, if you take hemisphere, let me use this formula to find out the area of hemisphere. For hemisphere, what is this hemisphere alpha here? So what is the angle described by this radius vector with here? So this will be 90. So if you take theta 90, hemisphere means here alpha is equal to 90 in our formula. So area of hemisphere is given by 2 pi r square 1 minus cos 90. Cos 90 is 0. So area of hemisphere is given by 2 pi r square. Suppose if we want to find out total surface area of this sphere, so for complete sphere, that is alpha is 180, then area of the complete sphere, this will be 2 pi r square 1 minus cos 180. We know that cos 180 is minus 1. 1 minus of minus 1, it will be 2. So area of the complete sphere is given by 2 pi r square into 2, which is 4 pi r square, which is the known value for us. Now, if you take only some portion of it, let us say alpha is equal to 30 degrees. So while calculating the flux through a small angle here, let us say this alpha is equal to 30 degrees only. So what is the area? Let us say if you keep a charge here, how much flux is passing through this area? To find this one, if alpha is 30, we need to find out the area here, because to find the flux, this is E bar dot dA bar. So flux is going by E into integral dA bar. So this is EA, where A is the area of this small elemental portion on the sphere. So in these cases, if theta is equal to 30, how to find out the area? To find this area formula for the sphere 2 pi r square 1 minus cos 30. So area is going by 2 pi r square. Cos 30 is root 3 by 2. This will be 1 minus root 3 by 2. If you know this area, and you can find the flux through this small area. So flux through that small area is given by electric field into 2 pi r square into 2 minus root 3 by 2 to get cancelled. So flux through this area is given by the electric field at that point due to the charge here, that we can write 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by this r square into pi r square into 2 minus root 3. This is how we can find out flux through a small given surface. So this, to find out this value, this derivation is very, very important, and you can remember this derivation very easily.